Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show. We are back for another match week review here on the channel and, of course, on podcasts. I'm joined this evening, as always, by Mark on a very cold and wintry and snowy evening in Nuremberg. I've seen it on the socials. We were just chatting about it now. How are you doing? You surviving the winter weather?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I think I told you before we started, Rory. I've just finally broke my duck from the cold. I've gone around about 9 months without getting a cold, but it's just kind of kicked me in. But thankfully, I'm still feeling fine to do the show tonight, but just with a little bit of a kind of ring in the nose. But yeah, it is. For those of you that love snow, then get yourself down to Nuremberg today. It's the most snowy I've ever seen the city, to be honest. And I think in the UK, it's very, very rare it gets snow is what you'd see here, but especially in the northwest where I'm from. But yeah, very, very cold. Thankfully, the weekend's match is just about avoided last night's downpour of snow across the Bundesrepublic. But who knows? Maybe these midweek games, the rearranged midweek games, could be in trouble again. Ironically, as things stand.
Yeah, very good point. We've got some catch-up games, haven't we, on Tuesday, tomorrow, but it might not happen given what obviously you're saying and what Germany is experiencing. Is it just in the south, or is the weather pretty much like that across Germany at the moment? Do you know?
People told me that in the north, it's also it's still in the north as well. The north has previously had the most snow, which is why the games were called off. But just this last week or so in the south, it's gone so cold, and it's expected to continue right over to the weekend. So it's possible we could see some games in the south called off this weekend. But I'm not sure about the midweek games, but hopefully they'll go ahead unless they'll start getting known as cursed games, I think, those ones, because after being called off once already.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all safe and sound and ready to record, at least for you, all you lovely people. So sit back and enjoy along with us as we go into match week 19 this evening. Lots to go through and a few predictions for us to work through as well. Before we get stuck into the juicy stuff, please do make sure to leave a like on this video. Comment along if you're watching live. That'd be lovely to see people and see what your thoughts were on match week 19. And of course, sub to the channel if you can do that. Support is greatly appreciated indeed. And of course, shout outs to our partners, being Covert Football Trips and the Brilliant Bully News. Lovely stuff. There's only one place to start the show this evening, Mark, and that is with the FCA Augsburg stunning Bayern in the Bavarian derby. We're going to pick up with the Saturday game here, which obviously from going into the game, we know what everyone was predicting. Strong home win for Bayern. Bavarian derby, or not, there was not anything expected that Bayern would get tripped up in the Bundesliga at this point. However, their run is over. It does also end a run of 5 matches winless for Augsburg, so it wasn't exactly an FCR side going into this in great form. And the first half, it was effectively Bayern that dominated the early proceedings, but they couldn't create anything overly clear until the goal from the corner from Elise, again onto the head of Hiroki Ito, who's making a good run of it in the Bayern team right now. That made it 1-0. And then Bayern almost went on to make it 2. Some good saves by Finn Darman in net for Augsburg, kept it at 1. But down the other end, it could have been 1-1 before half time. It was Feldheuer, who had a great effort that hit the crossbar and almost went in for 1-1. But then into the second half, we went Augsburg, Mark, they came out with just as much energy, really up for it still. Obviously, really in the game. And, they changed the game really well. Big performances from the likes of, Claude Maurice, Giannoulis down that side, and also Masenko in the middle was excellent. They themselves got back into the game late-ish on towards the end of, towards 75 minutes, give or take. This time, a corner being the downfall of Bayern again. New signing, Marta Chavez, rising highest to score his header, although standing keeper Ulbig did make a bit of a mess of it, didn't he? And he came for it and missed. Wasn't good enough on that occasion. And Bayern ultimately couldn't get going again. And some great play down the left-hand side between Claude Maurice and Giannoulis led to a cutback. And Masenko gets on the end of it, perfectly timed run into the 6-yard box and smashes it home. And Augsburg just about held on, despite the best efforts of Elise smashing one against the crossbar. Mark, I'll push this back on to you there to revel and to talk all about FCR performances. Unexpected, especially from 1-0 down as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've got to say massive congratulations to Manuel Baum and his team. I mean, I actually watched the first half on the conference, and as you say, although Augsburg were good, Bayern had a couple of chances, and you were thinking, okay, it's going to be a comfortable home win, really. Fellauer was super unlucky, as you say, not to equalise on the stroke at halftime with that really good strike, which came clattered off the post. And actually, I didn't see the second half live. I was actually out, and then I literally checked the scores, and I almost had to do a double take. To be honest with you, I couldn't believe it. Basically, that Augsburg had won 2-1 in this game, and then obviously I watched the second half highlights back, and it was a famous second half, really, for the FCR. As you say, I mean, they deserved the win as well. It was anything but a smash and grab win. They had other chances on top of that. They were peppering the goal, really. As you say, Claude Maurice. I mean, the German commentary was saying that Tar was lucky to stay on the pitch for that deliberate handball as well, when I think it was Kumur went through. And it was a very clear handball, and he only got a yellow card initially, but it could have been a red, that one, to be honest, because you could argue he was through on goal after that little dummy that he sold Tar. But he got away with that one. A great save from Ulbig on that occasion, from the returning to form Alexis Claude Maurice, which is great for Augsburg. He's been fantastic since the 2026 started. But then obviously, yeah, the equaliser was just incredible, wasn't it? It was a huge error from Ulbig. But then the winning goal was an absolutely brilliant team move, wasn't it? From the ever bright Giannoulis, who is one of the most consistent performers for the FCR. I think other credit has to go to Masengo. He was brilliant in the game. It was his best performance in an FCR shirt, as far as I'm concerned. I think Maurice was really good. The back line, we've got to give a lot of credit to Artur Chavez as well, because to be honest, when he signed, a lot of myself as well, I was kind of a bit pessimistic because he didn't do much at all at Hoffenheim after signing for quite a lot of money. I think they paid like 12 or 13 million euros for him a couple of years ago, but he was never able to really make himself a regular starter at Hoffenheim. But I mean, that's a famous debut for him. Let's not forget it was a debut as well. And to win at the Allianz Arena, to inflict Bayern's first defeat since last March, is just absolutely huge. And obviously to score the equalising goal as well. So yeah, absolutely huge performance. I think Darman deserves credit for that save from Luis Diaz as well, which would have made it 2-0 soon after the 1-0. And let's be honest, at 2-0 down, it would have been a different game at that point. That was a great save with his foot. Obviously, we've got to talk about the last-minute strike from Michael Elise as well. I mean, that was literally the last kick of the match, that was. So the full-time whistle went the second that shot came off the post, basically. So that would have been that would have been a sickener for the FCR, but what a goal it would have been. I mean, it was an absolute curler from well outside the area, like the banana shot, I think they call it. It just came like right over, didn't it? And smashed off the post. But yeah, the FCR deserved the win. They managed to ride the luck right at the end with that shot, but it was an absolute monster performance to a man from the FCR. Obviously, Vincent Kompany came out at the end of the match and said that, like, this is for all the people who say the Bundesliga is easy, I think. And he said the Bundesliga is absolutely not easy and every match is a challenge. And okay, at times this season for Bayern, you might have said some games were too easy. We can be honest about that. But, I mean, the FCR is certainly not a team that have rolled over for Bayern. Let's not forget they also played really well in the reverse fixture as well, where they only lost 3-2 and were really knocking on the door for an equaliser in the last 10 minutes of that game as well. So big credit to the FCR, big credit to Manuel Baum. He got his tactics absolutely spot on in this game with the 3-4-2-1 formation that he went with. I think probably aside from Fabian Rieder, to a man, they were excellent, really. And I just thought, this is a famous result. For me, this is the best result in the FCR's history, really. I honestly believe that. I think to beat this Bayern team, who most people are saying are the best team in Europe right now, the form they came into this game on, I mean, they've just been blitzing everyone. Let's not forget that. The last home game, they won 8-1 against Wolfsburg. The last league game, they won 5-1 at Leipzig. And for the FCR to come and win there in the Bavarian derby, the first win in Bayern since 2015, by the way, and absolutely massive performance. Credit to every single man, woman, and child involved with FC Augsburg for that result.
I wonder how many children are involved with SCL.
Well, the Kinderparade, let's not forget the Kinderparade as well, the famous parade that they always do at the VBK Arena. Particularly Peter absolutely loves to record before the match.
Yeah, indeed. I enjoyed the Augsburg admin have been having some fun as well on socials, because they've been saying that because we beat Bayern and Bayern beat Chelsea, it means that we're the best team in the world, which is, why not? If you want to do it like that. Fair play. Like you say, they deserved it. And I think we really have to concentrate on Augsburg because, we've talked about Bayern a bit in these last few games. Also to keep Bayern's XG under 1 for the whole match is exceptional, really is. And people might say, Bayern rotated. They did, but they didn't rotate much, or as much as you might expect. This is still a strong team. I think the only thing that Bayern will probably be concerned with is maybe the form of Lennart Karl. I think he's dropped off a little bit, but he's 17, he's 18.
This was his worst game. I thought this was his worst game, really. One thing, it's a very good point you bring up there. I actually think the FCR, I read a few publications, also on the BBC, and they were making it out as though Bayern had rotated massively, but get away. There were a couple of rotations, but they were talking as though this was like a youth team they put out. This was this is the best attack in Europe right now that was out there for that game. And let's put more respect on the FCR's name. I think often publications have a bad habit of saying that, this team rotated and stuff, but the rotations were very minimal. And Urbig started and Davies started in his wrong position. Ito started, but this was still a very, 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 very strong Bayern team that would have beaten 99% of teams that played against them. So let's give full credit to the FCR, and as you rightly point out, Rory.
Yeah, and it's a big kind of time now for Augsburg, because they now go into a really big run of games, Mark, where they play in the next 5 games. They have Pauli, Mainz, Heidenheim, Wolfsburg, and Köln. So naturally, they're in 13th place for now, but they're only 4 points off 16th place Mainz because of their win, which we'll talk about. Obviously, if they come out of that 10 points or more, then they'll be pulling away from relegation. If they don't do well, they'll be in sticky stuff, won't they? So, we've mentioned Manuel Baum, in his 7 games in charge, he's won 2 against Bayern and Leverkusen. Why not? and only lost 2 games. So, he's being trusted to steer them clear because he's getting the whole season now as interim. Do you think that's the right move? Well, like I say, it's a huge next 5 games which will possibly define their season.
Yeah, I think it's proved to be a good move. Yeah, I think generally the performances have been significantly better than the Sandro Wagner era. I mean, obviously, most people think Baum will probably only be interim until the end of the season. They don't expect he's going to get the permanent job because FCR are an ambitious club, but sometimes too ambitious. That's the problem, which with the whole like Augustus Vindelicum and the Sandro Wagner, they've gone back to absolute basics. Now, let's not forget that Baum has managed them before, I think for 2.5 years in the past too. He wasn't seen as like the most, exciting manager, but I think I still believe this is a decent squad of players from the FCR, yeah, and I think it has proven to be a good decision. 9 points from the 7 games, as you say, they've won 2, but they've also drawn 3, which should have been more points from those games. They should have beaten Werder in that game. They had a goal harshly disallowed in that one. They were winning against Union against 10 men, weren't they? I mean, that was a real sucker punch. They should have won that game, and it was such a scrappy equaliser that Union got in that one as well. Then even the Freiburg one, they played well, really, to be 2-0 up in that game. And okay, they threw it away, but it's still a good point, really. So I think it's proven to be right. As you say, this next run of games is huge, though. I don't think they have to win every one of those games, but particularly the Pauli one next, they have to win that. And then they've got a bit of a gap then. If they win that, they could go as much as 9 points clear of the automatic relegation. So I think, but that's what they've not done this season, Rory. That's the problem. The FCR, they lost away at St. Pauli. They lost at Heidenheim. They lost at home to Mainz. They've not done well in those kind of games so far. So they've got to turn that form around because it's great beating the top teams as a struggler, but ultimately the wins against the bottom teams is like double payout, basically, because you're beating one of your rivals. Like in English, obviously in England, they call them 6-pointers, don't they? And it makes sense because you win and you stop the other team from getting anything, don't you? So it's worth 6 points in many ways. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they just need to do what we used to say doing in Augsburg is and was, which is just winning 1-0. We'll obviously see what happens with that. But yeah, like we said, all credit to Augsburg. Excellent second half comeback and deserved win, inflicting that first defeat on Bayern on German shores, at least domestically, and they'll be licking their wounds and wanting to bounce back, no doubt. Moving on then to another big moment and kind of standout result from the weekend is the Hoffenheim result. We're going to talk about a little bit as well, as they came from behind against Frankfurt to really solidify, Mark, their UCL ambitions. They sit very comfortably in third place right now, joint third with Stuttgart, but they do have that game in hand. As well, we'll kind of come to the ifs, buts, and maybes about UCL stuff and everything else around that to come. But this match is obviously billed as on the face of it a close game, but we know the troubles that Frankfurt have been having. This is a bit of a new era, obviously under interim coach Dennis Schmidt. Since Topmuller had been released of his duties. And obviously in terms of trying to change the narrative on the Frankfurt struggles, they look like they might have been able to do that because Frankfurt did go ahead after a decent start through Kalimendu. Really good finish, actually, and good play by Chan Ozun, Mark. Yeah. The ball off Kramaric in the middle of the park and setting up the goal. But yeah, excellent finish from the Loney striker for 1-0. Hoffenheim, though, I don't think they panicked. They're a very confident team right now. Kabak, who obviously had a great game, hit the post with a header immediately afterwards, so almost back to 1-1 straight away. And then I think it was another really good save from Kua Santos in net. Possibly from Berger again to keep it at 1-0. going into the second half. But I guess from a Frankfurt point of view, their confidence is frail and Hoffenheim's is up. And the fact that they got that equaliser quite quickly and another goalkeeping mishap mark led to the equaliser from Murstedt. And from that point onwards, the TSG were just we all kind of knew what was going to happen, and they didn't steamroller them. They won comfortably. But yeah, sadly, Santos is a good shot stopper for me, but his decision making is obviously off because he comes for the cross from Berger and he doesn't get there, and that's what obviously changes the game massively in that sort of this Hoffenheim team they just know what they're doing. They're an excellent outfit on the field for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this was one thing I've loved about Hoffenheim this season is the way they can win in so many different ways as well. They can go and steamroller a team. They can edge out a win like last week against Leverkusen. They can win home. They can win away. They can win from behind like they did in this game. Because as you say, Frankfurt really came out strong in this one. And I was starting to think, okay, I might have been wrong on my tip. But as it came out, Hoffenheim easily won this. Probably from about 30, 35 minutes on, it was just one-way traffic, really, I would say. I mean, they did well to stay in it early doors because, as you say, Frankfurt were easily the better side in the early stages. But I think the man we've got to give the most credit to is that man Burger. Like he is just having an absolutely stellar season. He really is. And the two assists he supplied, as you say. I mean, I agree that it was a mistake, but the ball did tempt him out, didn't it? Like the ball into Murstedt was just one of those that he didn't know, should he stay or should he go kind of thing, and as he mostly does, he chose wrong, basically. And let's be honest, I mean, as you say, he does have a few points where you think, okay, this guy's got potential, but he's made way too many errors this season. And as you say, but so is Zetterer. So what do you do? I mean, it's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place when thinking about Frankfurt goalkeeping, because both of them tend to get like a 6 to 8 game run and they just mess up, and then he changes. And then surely in the summer they're just going to have to sack off both of those keepers, to be honest, and bring in like a top level keeper, because it's been a huge problem for them. I mean, almost every game, like tell me a game when they've not had at least one huge goalkeeping error, really. And I mean, yeah, and as you say, Hoffenheim just played some stellar stuff from then on, and you could see it was a confident team against an unconfident team, basically. And as you say, Kabak, who's really, come back into form this season, headed them back into the lead from another brilliant assist from Burger. And then it was that man Kufal again, who I always say that when an own goal is scored courtesy of your cross, it should be another assist. I don't know why they don't give that, but for me, that was yet another Vladimir Kufal assist there, with another excellent ball in, which the hapless Amenda just basically took past his own keeper. And all these goals were in the space of 15 minutes, basically. So they just completely blitzed them. After that, they just, they had a couple of other chances to extend the lead, but they know that they can rely on this defense as well. That's the thing with this modern Hoffenheim side. In the past, they would have gone 3-1 up and then gone and conceded again straight after it and been sweating on the line whether they were going to win. But this Hoffenheim side doesn't do that. They can defend and attack, which has been what's so impressive with them. He even made changes in this game. I mean, quite a lot of people were surprised to see Murstedt start in the game, but he's also done well when called upon. There's just literally endless quality in this team. I just have no words, really. They've taken everyone by surprise just from first ball kicked this season. And there's only probably maybe one performance I can remember this season when they disappointed me, and that was against Frankfurt at home, actually, when they were well beaten in that game.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Aside from that, they've been at least equal to every team they played for me. Even when they played Bayern, they lost 4-1, but decisions massively went against them on that day.
That was a false scoreline for me, wasn't it?
Yeah, massively false. It could have been a 3-2 easily or something like that. I mean, it was a good performance from TSG, and there's just no end of credit you can give them. I mean, Kramaric is well and truly reborn this season. He got quite a bit of stick last season for falling performances, but this year he's been an absolute delight again. And the signings just continue to delight, really. Wouter, Burger, Avdallahu, he really kind of provides quality. Kufal, who's just been okay, he was a great player for West Ham, but nobody thought he was going to deliver this kind of season for Hoffenheim. He's just been outstanding. Bernardo, who was one of the ones we all kind of tipped to do well, has done really well. I mean, even Haidara has done well. Kabak is reborn as well. It's just endless praise. And you've got to give a lot of credit to Christian Ilzer as well, because he was, let's be honest, he was getting stick from all angles last season. And he was very lucky to keep them up, truth be told. I think they only got 30 points last season and they stayed up with that. But this season, it's a different world. It's a different team. And they look like they're flying into the Champions League for me. I don't see this stopping before the end of the season.
So are we saying that Hoffenheim are pretty nailed on favourites now for Champions League football?
I wouldn't say nailed on favourites because it's a very competitive race actually this year. I mean, obviously Stuttgart are showing no signs of slowing down after their 3-0 win. Leverkusen have been the worst of the chasers, but they are still just about scraping results. So I wouldn't say they're nailed on because the competition is quite strong for a place this year, but they're definitely going to be up there until the last day. I mean, they're going to have to keep winning because I think Stuttgart are really hitting top gear again now. In 2026, they've gone up at a level. Leipzig are the kind of team that are capable of putting like 5-6 game winning run together. You know, okay, they've not done that well against the bigger teams this season, which is a concern, but they tend to win easy against teams they should beat under Ole Werner, you know, so you can't rule them out. But I think they will get it. I think they will, because I think they're a slightly better team than those other aforementioned teams. And also they don't have the cup. They got unluckily knocked out of the cup. And also they, let's not forget as well, they don't have Europe. So that's a big benefit for them. So they could just prepare every Saturday. You know, I don't think there's only this Tuesday. Obviously, they play Werder away, which is another game they'll be very confident of winning away from home. And then they can just prepare Saturday. And I just think they are ready to go and win. I mean, Ilza, we didn't see him smile once last season. And this year, he's laughing, joking with his staff and players. The whole atmosphere at that club is different. And I think they are ready to get Champions League again, the TSG.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, we'll certainly put our hands up because we were certainly two of many people giving him lots of stick last year. But he does deserve it. Like you say, this team, this squad has been really well built now. Like you say, there's attacking options everywhere. You know, Merstedt, like you say, getting the nod. Asllani, Lemperle, Kramaric, Toure, who's been benched for the last few as well. Yeah. And he's had an excellent season. Berger, Promel. You even look to the squad and there's Berisha and Hlozek as well lurking in the background. Yeah. Forgotten about players and the rest of the squad. So, you know, it stands to reason that they're onto something great, and this season is showing why. And yeah, like you say, they'll really fancy their chances of solidifying third place by winning tomorrow evening, should the game happen. So yeah, another excellent win, and things are looking very rosy for the Sinzheimer's. Lovely stuff. We'll move on then to another topic we want to talk about, which is another big result from the weekend, which was the Mainz fight back as they beat Wolfsburg and open up the relegation race even more for Mark to get stuck into and probably worry a lot of other teams as well as a result of their big 3-1 comeback win. You know, huge win in terms of lifting them off the bottom of the table in terms of results that went this weekend. And again, did it the hard way after going down 1-0 early doors, thanks to a Amura finish, a really clever one as well. The back heel, lovely stuff. Like, he's such a classy player. I don't know how much longer he'll be at Wolfsburg. Yeah, I mean, like, talking about, you know, teams that deserved their win, we just talked about Hoffenheim, we've talked about Augsburg deserving it. Mainz deserved this, didn't they? I thought after that, they're excellent. You know, Grabara was the busiest keeper by far. You know, so many chances that he had to to keep out. He even saved a penalty after Lee was fouled in the air. That looked like a massive dive to me, though. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about that, but it was given. Teets had the penalty saved. So Mainz, could have been knocked by that. And obviously they still trailed at the break. They had loads of shots in that first half. And then going into the second half, Mark, again, the game was drifting. Those 3 goals that they scored all came in a cluster, again, in 9 minutes of each other, I think. Impact sub, super sub, Amiri came on and made a huge difference from set pieces, particularly firstly finding Teets, who made up for his missed penalty with a great header for 1-1. Then another set piece, another corner leads to their carnage. Hollerbach's header was blocked just about, but Stefan Bell reacted the quickest to bang home for 2-1. They hit the crossbar soon after that, and then Amiri coolly, he steps up, takes the penalty after a handball. I don't like those handballs, but it is what it is, I guess. Mainz cruised through. The XG from this 4.32 XG for Mainz versus not much for Wolfsburg. They made more passes in the match. They did it more accurately. They made 22 shots all game with 10 on target. Wolfsburg just had 7 shots all game long. They made more tackles. They had 15 corners to 1. Statistically and physically on that pitch, Mark, was a dominant, excellent win for Mainz 05.
Yeah, and I definitely think this has been a continued theme throughout 2026. So we are starting to see the old Mainz come back. I've got to be honest. I think probably starting off with that performance at Bayern in Fischer's first game. I mean, obviously we're big fans of Urs Fischer on this show. I mean, we couldn't stop waxing lyrical about what he did at Union, and I think he's also made a very, very, very excellent start at Mainz as well. I think probably not really a single bad performance I can remember. I mean, they were a bit unlucky to lose at Köln last week in a game where they completely dominated the first half. And then obviously they went down to that really scrappy winner from Aachen, which was like, you almost can't believe it. It should have been disallowed due to ugliness of that goal, really, in some ways. But yeah, in general, the performances have been... when I was watching this game, I was just thinking that it looks like an old Mainz team. You could see that bank of ultras behind the goal. Mainz ultras are almost sucking that goal, and that's what it was like for long periods of last season. And the Mainz teams that we've seen in the past, that they love playing at home, especially shooting into that ultra stand. They've always been very, very strong. And that's what it looked like in that second half. Even though I've got to be honest, they did get a few rubs of the green with decisions in this game. I agree with you. I think both penalties were. 10 years ago, they wouldn't have been penalties. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And I agree with you on those. Every time I see one of those handball penalties, I'm just cringing, to be honest with you. Because, I mean, it hits his leg. There's literally not. They say the ball is in an unnatural position, but I always argue that it's not unnatural. In my eyes, to block the face is a natural position, because anyone who has had a ball kicked at them, your natural instinct is to put your hand up to block it. This is like a human instinct almost, I'd say. And I think unless you are literally, there's nothing in front of your hand. I think if the hand is way out and it literally stops a goal, then yeah. But if it's clearly going to hit the face, then come on, give me a frigging break. Those penalties should be outlawed out of football in my eyes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they should.
For me, I don't care. Like, there's got to be common sense taken into this. As it happened in this one, I mean, I think Mainz would have won anyway. They were 2-1 up and dominating, but it definitely gave them a rub of the green then. We see too many of those penalties in general, to be honest, those soft in all leagues, not just in the Bundesliga. But yeah, but as you say, let's turn our attention back to a very strong Mainz performance. I think the key of the changes, I think Hollerbach has found his form back. Hollerback's got his holler back, so to speak. I think that's been key because he was rubbish in 2025 for Mainz. He just couldn't get anything going under Bo Henriksen. But I think he's got his trickery back, and he's always been quite an unorthodox player. He loves to like hug the byline, doesn't he? He always gets in right along the byline, then pull the ball back. And we started to see him do a lot of that in this game, and also in previous games in 2026. I think.
Does it help him that he's now got someone to like play with in terms of Teats doing like that's quite a nice partnership in a sense. And
it started well. It's obviously only been 2 games, I think. I think his first appearance was against Köln last week, and I think it's been a very promising start, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, Teats has always been a player I thought was underrated. Like, he's one of them. I'd seen him live 3 or 4 times for Augsburg, and when you see how much that guy runs, like, he will die for the shirt of his team. And I think he's a very emotional player, as you can see often. Like, his celebrations are normally a little bit OTT. And when you saw when he smashed the ground, when he missed the penalty, he's a very, very emotional footballer, is Philipp Tietze. I think he could have been what Mainz needed. I think similar to when they signed a Jock a few years ago. At the time, he was what they needed. And I think Tietze, in this case, is what they needed as well. Yeah, he gives a support to Hollerbach, and he also brings in emotion into the team, which was lacking a bit in the first half of the season. I think. And everything's looking good for Mainz now. I think Sano has found his form back as well. I think he's been really good so far. He's back to his industrious self. And even Stefan Bell, that's obviously his 2nd goal now in the last 2 or 3 games, which is quite impressive from him because he's never been known as much of a goal scorer. I think another thing is that they're keeping 11 men on the pitch as well, Mainz now, which is something they just weren't doing in the first half of the season. And I think, obviously, if you take a quick look at the table now, things are slowly looking better. Obviously, they came off. They came into this game as 2nd bottom in the league, and obviously they're up already into the relegation place. There's still a bit of a gap between them. 3 points is quite a lot at this level, at this part of the table, I guess. But you're starting to think now Mainz, the worst is past them now, and they've just got to start turning performances into wins now for me. And I think. With quality like Amiri, Hollerbach when he's on form, Sano, Lee, they have more than enough to stay up in this league. Obviously, a problem for them is when the Conference League starts again, because they will harbour ambitions to win that competition. It's a very winnable competition ultimately, and I hope they do prioritize Bundesliga survival, because if you do go down into that Zweite Liga, it's so hard to get back up, as a lot of teams have found out. So the Bundesliga is one of those leagues where you have to ensure survival first, because it's not the Premier League where you get like parachute payments and stuff, and they basically give you a huge opportunity to get back up. In the Bundesliga, if a team like Mainz go down, they'll drop into obscurity. That's the problem.
I think some good points you raised there. But one thing I'd be concerned with is the return of the Conference League, but also their next stretch of games is quite testing. They've got some tricky games coming up. I haven't noted them down. I think Bayern and Leverkusen perhaps relatively soon. I would pose the question: is anyone from 10th downwards really safe? Not for me. From Köln downwards, who I think are in 10th, I'd argue it's fair game from a points point of view, and then above that, it's a different story. Wolfsburg are in all sorts of trouble, I think. The way they're playing, they've got a tough run of games coming up as well. And by the end of that run, they could be in the relegation zone. Honestly, they look a ruddy mess at the moment. And that's after having a half-decent December where we thought, are we on to something with Wolfsburg? No, we're not. Rubbish at the moment. Big win for Mainz there. Absolutely. So really wanted to make sure we gave them their due credit, and opening up a really exciting run into the season. We're only just into the Rook Runner, aren't we? I'm getting ahead of myself. Lovely stuff. Before we run into the last part of the show, we're going to do some predictions. A couple of things I wanted to mention. Firstly, Mark, Edin Dzeko scoring goals for Schalke in the Zweite. That's a turn up for the books. Is he going to bang them to Bundesliga football?
Yeah, that was a great signing, wasn't it? It was definitely one for the, he's a guy that scored wherever he's been, hasn't he? Like he's a natural goal scorer. I actually checked and he turns 40 in March as well. So he's really, and I think Germany was where he kind of made his name really with Wolfsburg, actually, and a much better days for Wolfsburg as well. I think he was even part of their title-winning team, I believe. Obviously, they won the title in the back end of the 2000s as well. So, obviously, nowadays, Wolfsburg nowhere near in the same position. But, obviously got a goal on his debut off the bench as well, didn't he? So, it's definitely promising signs. Although, Schalke have gone a bit stale as a team. They've gone 3 without a win now and just about scraped a point against the FCK. Obviously, Peter's FCK, but Zweite Liga is just a gift that keeps giving. You just don't know what's going to happen in that league. Like teams could completely blow up from looking like snowed on for kind of bang on for promotion, and they just completely blow up. So maybe we're seeing that
on the mind, clearly. Lovely stuff. Also, just wanted to shout out our good friend of the show, Boston Gladbach. Hope you guys are doing well. You reached out before the show, but they've also been bombarded with snow. So I hope you're staying safe and somehow staying warm in those crazy conditions that we're seeing in the US and in Germany. It's just wet and miserable here in England. But just wanted to shout out. Apologies for my boys doing over Gladbach at the weekend. It could have been very different if Tabakovic had scored that penalty as well. But Stuttgart go marching on. Luckily for me. Lovely stuff. So we'll just finish off the show very quickly with some midweek predictions. We just got some catch-up games to do tomorrow for the games that were cancelled if they survive the weather. Let's start with Bremen, Hoffenheim. I'm not going to put too much thought into this. I mean, for me, this is a nailed-on away win. Bremen were fairly unlucky, to be fair, against Leverkusen. Leverkusen not in their best moment either. They maybe could have got a result. But I will say an away win. I'll say if it happens, 2-1.
Yeah, I'll go for a 2-0 Hoffenheim. But the Bundesliga is one of those leagues that just likes to throw up shock results occasionally, And I think that we must be getting to the point where Steffen is under real pressure now because they've gone right back down to where we all thought they would be, really. They're literally just hovering above the bottom 3 again now. So they really need to make the most of this game in hand. But it's going to be hard for them. So who could tip against this Hoffenheim side at the minute, really?
The other game, should it beat the weather, would be in Hamburg as Pauli take on Leipzig. Enjoyed watching the Hamburg derby in the sense of enjoying the atmosphere. The game was pretty drab in terms of goal mouth action, wasn't it? I think the XG backs that up. I will say an away win. I'll say another 3-0 for Leipzig.
Yeah, it was a disappointment. As you say, the atmosphere, as there were in a few games across the Bundesrepublik at the weekend, obviously, let's not forget the Elbe derby as well between Magdeburg and Dresden. Like, that was a huge atmosphere of that one. But yeah, as you say, the Hamburg City derby was very impressive atmosphere, but the game was poor. And again, Pauli are just not enough up top. The days of Huntonji ripping up the Bundesliga for all of 3 games are long gone, unfortunately, now. And it looks like they're as blunt as, I don't know what they're as blunt as, but they are very, very blunt at the moment. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leipzig win. They probably should win this game quite comfortably, really.
Lovely stuff. And then some quick fire European ones. Dortmund, Inter Milan. Dortmund can still mathematically get top 8, but it's very, very unlikely. I think they draw this one. I'll say 2-2.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to overly prioritise this game because they're going to need results to go in their favour. So I'm actually going to go for a Milan win, an Inter win. I think a 2-1 because I think they've got more chance of getting top 4 as far as I know, top 8 as far as I know. But I just don't think Dortmund will really overly prioritise this game, knowing that they're going to need a miracle to get in that top 8, really.
Already eliminated Frankfurt take on Thomas Frank's Tottenham, who are frankly awful at the moment. I think Frankfurt will win. And I think it'd be hilarious because it might knock Spurs out of the top 8 and cost Thomas Frank his job, which I kind of want to happen because I don't like him. So I'll say 3-2 to Frankfurt.
Yeah, I wish I was as optimistic as you, Rory, but I just think Frankfurt are an even worse state than Tottenham at the minute. Frankfurt are just, I mean, they ship 3 every single game, don't they? Like, when was the last time they didn't ship 3, you know? Literally, when was the last time? It's not been this year, put it that way. I think they've shipped exactly 3 in every game. So I'm going to go the opposite to you and go for a 3-2 Tottenham win.
Okie doke. Big game, though. For Leverkusen, they need to win ideally or pick up points to stay inside the top 24 against eliminated Villarreal. I think they'll scrap it like they've been scrapping recently. Well, at least at the weekend. They needed that for a confidence point of view. I'll say 2-1 home win.
Yeah, I think Villarreal are completely eliminated, so you've got to question what their real motivation is going to be in this one. So I think Leverkusen couldn't have handpicked a better opposition, to be honest, for this game. So they've surely got to get the win. I go for a 2-0 here, Leverkusen.
PSV take on Bayern. PSV need a result to stay in the top 24. Bayern are already qualified for the top 8. Could we see another defeat? I will say, Bayern will obviously want to bounce back. I'll say a draw. I'll say 2-2.
Yeah, it's a tough one because a lot of it's going to depend on the team. But to be honest, normally Company kind of does like squad rotation. He's not one of those kind of managers who just does like wholesale rotations. I tend to find Company like. So I think he will want to win it. You do still get money for every win. I think you get like $500,000 per win in the Champions League or something like that. So, and also it's against the Netherlands as well. So obviously, for those of you that don't know, like Germany and the Netherlands are like a huge football rivalry, like a mega rivalry. So I think it's not an easy one to tip because, as you say, it's a much bigger game for PSV. But I'm still going to go for Bayern to get the result. I think I'll go for a 3-1 away win.
Lovely stuff. So the Europa League last game as well. Freiburg already qualified, although they're not technically qualified for top 8, are they? Because Porto could technically go ahead of them. I think they are okay. They're away to Lille, who need a result. I'll say also 1-1 draw.
Yeah, we sync up on this one because I just think Freiburg are excellent in Europe. The way they set up, they're very hard to beat even away from home. Lille should be a half decent team because they're one of like the traditional top 4 in France. So they should be decent, but I can still see Freiburg getting the point. As you say, I'm not 100% sure if they're mathematically qualified, but they're going to need a miracle. It's going to need a lot of results combined with a defeat to knock them out of that top 8. So, yeah, but I can see them getting the point that would mean it's completely irrelevant anyway, to be honest.
Stuttgart at home to Young Boys. Stuttgart could mathematically sneak inside the top 8. That would be lovely if they can. That's got to be their motivation. I will say a 3-1 home win.
Yeah, again, I actually thought Stuttgart were in a better position, but that defeat in Rome has made it look a little bit grim for them in terms of the top 8. Like they could win this game and still not get top 8. So. But I still think they'll win. I think they played Young Boys in the Champions League last year and absolutely thrashed them, if I remember rightly. So I just think there's a golfing quality. So I'll go for a 3-1 as well in this one for Stuttgart.
Lovely stuff. Thank you for that. Thank you, for joining us this evening. It's been great to record another show So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And Mark, you can close up for tonight's show match review of match week 19 in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, so if you enjoy what you saw tonight, then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Well, remember, we're not only a YouTube channel as well anymore, we're also a podcast too. So check us out on Spotify and Apple. And also we're on social media as well, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. So don't forget, guys, to check us out. Thanks a lot to Left Footed as well for commenting there. Great show, guys. And we'll see you again for the next one. Bye-bye, guys.
Stay safe, guys. Bye.